Hey there, lovely people, and welcome to Pen Talk number, think about this, 12? No, I feel like that's back. 12. I don't know. I have a hard time with the camera flipping things around. It confuses me every time. Anyway, welcome to Pen Talk number 12. I almost want to call this Knit Talk because I actually have some knitting projects to talk about. I was furiously trying to finish up something today because I was like, I talk about these knitting projects and I never have anything to show for it. So I was like, I just finished it up a little bit ago and I'm like, yes, now I can record. By the way, it's like about 2:30 in the afternoon right now, so I usually try to record earlier than this, but I really wanted to get this finished. So anyway, updates. Everything's starting to come up Millhouse for me. I got a job interview for tomorrow. So I have that tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. And that one it's not one of my dream jobs. I'll just be totally honest about it. It's kind of one of those jobs that I applied for because I was like, well, I'm qualified to do this. But it is certainly not a dream job for me, but I'm going to go to the interview and be excited about it because it's a job and it would be a new skill set and, perhaps a stepping stone into something else. Who knows? But it's not the job. Also, fun story. So when I was editing last week's video, you upload stuff to YouTube and YouTube does its thing and then it comes up with the little suggestions for what your thumbnail could be. And you can upload a custom thumbnail if you want, and I've done that before, but that's a lot of work. And usually I can find one of the 3 suggestions that they pick is an okay one. I mean, for these videos, I don't really care. For like review videos, usually one of them, gets a nice shot of it so you can tell what it is that I'm reviewing. Anyway, for last week's video, all 3 suggestions were me doing this. This is all 3 of them. So yeah. Anyway, so I have that tomorrow, and then like just a couple of minutes before I sat down to record this, I got an email about the physics instructor job at VCU that I really, really want for a phone interview. So that is at least a step forward. It's, a positive step, and I'm really excited about that because I would really, really like that job. Yeah, so I don't know, this must have happened, yeah, this would have happened between last video and this video about that job. I actually went into the department maybe Thursday of last week, Friday of last week, something like that. And I kind of wanted to figure out like where they were in the process because the job posting had said that they wanted to have someone hired by November 10th. And, it's now almost the end of October. I don't know why I looked at my watch for the date, but anyway, so it's almost the end of October, and I was like, I haven't heard anything either way. I feel like they should be interviewing people by now if they want to have someone hired within, 2 or 3 weeks. So I went in, I kind of, asked around some people, figured out who was on the selection committee, and I went to talk to one of the people, but she wasn't there. But by the time, like while I was waiting for her to get done with something, one of the other people came and I kind of chatted with him, and he was kind of saying that, yeah, it's just there's a lot of kind of red tape and a lot of steps that have to be taken, and that they are reviewing applications and all of that. But then, and I don't want to say that this guy was saying something discriminatory against me. I don't want to imply that at all. I think it was just kind of a communication error, but he said something about, well, it's a pretty serious process because, it is a faculty position. Kind of as if I didn't understand that. And again, I think it was just kind of me not understanding, the tone and inflection that he was using. But I mean, on the other hand, I was there, I was just wearing kind of like a t-shirt and a sweater and jeans and boots. So nothing, grossly inappropriate or, to imply that I'm younger than I am, but definitely I wasn't wearing, a suit or anything like that. So it just kind of made me feel like he was looking at me and saying, I don't think you understand what this job really is. I don't think you're old enough to really get that. And I was kind of like, excuse me? Anyway, so that was interesting. Thankfully, I didn't tell him my name when I kind of, said hello and was asking questions. So I was like, well, at least that's not going to like negatively affect me because he doesn't know a name to connect, my name to my face. So Anyway, so yeah, so that's awesome. I'll leave it there for personal updates. And hopefully by next week I'll have something else to, hopefully by next week I'll have other positive things to say. Anyway, let's talk a little bit of kind of what's coming up on the blog this week and pen stuff, and then I will talk about knitting stuff because I know some of the pen people are like, I don't care, I don't want to hear about knitting. So I will leave that till the end so that if you don't want to watch the rest of the video, you can just be done with it. Okay, so coming up on the blog this week, this will be posted, of course, hopefully on Monday. I also recorded another Plan With Me video to go on my personal channel. I have not uploaded it yet. All I need to do is like add the title page and get it uploaded. So I might do that before I post this video. If I do so, I will put the link in the description below if you want to go watch that. So that will be posted, and then this will be posted on Monday. And then my plan is on Thursday to review this pencil, and I don't think it's going to focus properly, especially not with the sunlight and the foil, but this is the Tombow Mono 100 in 2B. Oh my god, these are nice pencils. I got some a dozen of these from someone, and they are very nice. Wesley has already claimed one. Pretty much as soon as I opened up the box, he was like, I want one of those, and he took one. He's been using one. But these are super nice. I would call these more luxury than Blackwings, probably. I also have another Tombow, I think the Tombow Mono Professional is the other one that I have, that is very similar to this. I don't think I have it, these are all 2B. I don't think I have that other one in a 2B, but I can compare them in terms of like quality and build because those other ones are much cheaper. So maybe I will kind of do a dual review comparison of this one and then the other one as well. But that will be coming up on Thursday. And then we launch into Ink Month, Thanksgiving Ink Month for November. I talked about that in last week's video. I'm kind of focusing for November on, oh my gosh, I don't know if you can hear that, but people here listen to the worst music with their bass turned up super loud, and it rattles our bedroom windows when they go by on the street. Like, it's just, I don't know how you can sit in a car and be comfortable when that's happening. The other night, we were trying to go to bed, and someone was parked, like, you know, there's like the street that runs in front of our house, and we kind of live on a corner, so then there's like the other street. So someone was parked down on this other street, like waiting for someone or something, and our window was like vibrating from their base, and they're parked probably at least 100 feet away. And I was like, how can you be comfortable sitting in that car producing that kind of noise if we're uncomfortable listening to it here, you know, if it's shaking our windows here? Anyway. What was it? Oh, so November is Thanksgiving themed ink month, so it will be browns and oranges and things. So I'm starting out with, and I really wish this would show up better, it is Chesterfield Fire Opal. The Chesterfield inks are, they're sold through X Fountain Pens, which I've ordered through them before. I don't have any problems with them or anything. They're sold through them, and from what I understand, they're rebranded Diamine inks. And I think somewhere there might be kind of lists where people have tried to figure out which ones correspond to which ones across the different names. If I can find that, of course, I will link that in any reviews that deal with these Chesterfield inks. But this is a very pretty orangey kind of ink, and it's not showing up as well as I would like it to, but it is a very bright orangey ink, and it will be a great ink to kind of do right after Halloween and to kick off kind of my orange and brown themed Thanksgiving inks. So that one will be coming up on Sunday, and then I have a posting schedule then for the rest of the month. So basically every third day there will be another ink review. So Sunday will be the first, that'll be one, and then, you know, the fourth and the whatever. Anyway, every third day there will be another ink review. So expect lots of ink reviews coming up in November. Okay, so that's it for pen and ink stuff. So now I'm going to talk about knitting stuff. So if you don't care about knitting stuff, get out of here. You're done. That's going to be it. It'll just be knitting stuff. And if you're gone, I'll see you next week. Thank you. Anyway, knitting stuff. So last week I had mentioned that I was going to be making some fingerless mitts, and I finished them, and I only have one here. I don't know where. I must have left the other one out in the living room when I was scooping everything up. So anyway, I only have one, but there is another one. The other one looks just like this, but has the thumb pointed in the other direction. So this is using, I think it's called like Leafy Fingerless Mitts. It's a pattern on Ravelry. I think I said I was going to link it last week and I didn't, so I will for sure link it this week down in the description. But anyway, this is that pattern. It gives you options to make There's like a small and a large size, and I didn't check before I started recording this, but I downloaded the pattern for the small size because they said that for most women, the small size is what will fit you best. Um, but for me, the small size is just barely big enough. And I think too, I also am a very tight knitter, and I was knitting these on a size 1, like sock needle. And I used as a finger weight yarn. I used the, it's wool-like. It's the same yarn that I was using to make that sweater and then kind of abandoned the sweater. I had an extra ball, so I used that for this. It's a nylon acrylic blend. It's nothing special, but whatever. It's what I had. So, and it because it's light, it does, you know, really show off the leaf pattern really well. Anyway, so the small is just barely big enough for me. Like, you can see that the ribbing is pretty stretched on that. So, you know, if I were to make these in the future, I'd maybe take a look at what the difference is between the small and the large and, you know, choose appropriately. But then again, for people, I have fairly big hands for a woman. I have decently small wrists, but I have very, like, wide, like, palms and hands and stuff. So for me, it's kind of tricky anyway. But you can see it's all ribbing across the palm, which keeps it nice and tight, a ribbed thumb, and then the kind of lacy pattern on the back. I don't love how this pattern isn't like centered on the back of my hand. If I were to do this again, I'd probably shift this pattern over by a stitch or two, so that there was maybe like, you know, 2 or 3 stitches here and then a little bit more here so that it would be centered. The pattern also actually makes little fingers, but I didn't have the patience for that. I know how to do it and I could have done it, but I would rather just do this, and that makes it easier and faster to whip up the pair. So I made the pair last week, and they're very nice. It's pretty warm, keeps my fingers warm like I need it to, and they're easy to take on and off. And I know that this yarn is easily machine washable and dryable. So that's also nice for things that you're going to be wearing on your hands that are going to be really coming in contact with a lot of dirt and stuff during the day. Is to have a nice machine washable yarn. So yeah, so that's those. They're very nice. I like them a lot. Yay, woohoo. So then the next project that I started was a project for Wesley. He had requested a hat like about a year ago. I make him a lot of hats because that's about the only knitted thing he wears, and that's fine. I don't mind making hats. I love making hats. The bummer is that he tends to prefer very plain kind of ribbed hats, which is fine. That's what guys tend to prefer. And if you're making something for a guy, like if you're knitting something for a guy, unless you know that he will wear something, you know, a little bit fussier, go plain. Go exceedingly plain. Go more plain than you could ever think you'd want. That will be what guys want. They want plain colors, they want neutral, they don't want fancy stitch patterns, they just want something that works. So like with Wesley and his hats, he wants something that fits and something that's warm. That's it. He doesn't want anything fancy. So I made him a couple of those hats, you know, just kind of plain gray hats. And then he requested a Gophers hat. The Gophers are the University of Minnesota college football team. That's where we are from. We both, you know, grew up really close to Minneapolis and the U of M and everything, so that's kind of our home team. And so, you know, he wanted a Gophers hat with the Gophers colors. The colors are red and gold. So I had picked up this yarn forever ago. Back when we were in Wisconsin, I picked up this yarn, and then it just kind of sat and sat and sat. And now I'm finally getting the hat done. So I made this teeny tiny little itty bitty baby hat. It's super tiny, like no joke, it's really tiny. But I basically made this as a proof of concept for the rest of the hat. I'm doing this stripe pattern, just like a 1x1 row stripe pattern. And it's actually going to be inverted on the hat that I've started so that this bottom part is red and then it starts up with the stripes. But this is kind of what it looks like. It has a nice double thick brim, so that way he doesn't have to fold it up or anything. It's just going to be nice and double thick, and that keeps your ears nice and warm, but then keeps the rest of the hat fairly light and thinner so that the rest of your head can ventilate, because that's the worst thing when like you're wearing a hat that's too warm and then your head gets all sweaty and your hair sticks down because your head's all sweaty. So I really enjoy doing these double brims because they keep your ears warm and, you know, your forehead and stuff warm, but it allows the heat from the rest of your head to vent out the top. So that's really nice. So that's about halfway done. I just kind of started doing the decreases and stuff, so my guess is that it will probably come together pretty quickly, as hats tend to do. But I put it down for a few days because I just kind of got bored of it, and there's not an immediate need for it, so I wanted to do something different for a few days, which I did. So I started socks again, just regular socks, and I decided that I was determined to learn Kitchener stitch and do an afterthought heel. So I got a great deal on some sock yarn. Oh, I'm gonna go grab that. Stay here. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back. Ah, ah, ah. I'm back. Okay, so I probably won't edit that out because I just don't have time for that. Anyway, I'll try and stop rustling. So Michael's was having a sale this past weekend on yarn, and I got some good coupons, and I was like, I'm going and I'm buying yarn. So I went and bought a whole bunch of yarn. Sadly, the Michael's that I went to only had Patton's Croy, which is fine. I like Patton's Croy because it's decently cheap and it's a little bit thicker than regular fingering weight yarn, and I feel like it wears well. So anyway, so I bought basically every single design they had. So I got this one. I know this is a pretty common one that I see people using. This is the blue striped rag. I got this one. This is the clover colors. I've actually made a sock out of this. Excuse me. I actually made a sock out of this before, and I loved it, and it was so beautiful. It's not here, which is why I bought this one again. Love this color. I bought the flax. This is just for doing heels and toes. I bought the Sing in the Blues stripes. This blue one. And then I bought Route 66. This one will be kind of cool. And then one more, which I forget exactly what it's called, but it is this one. And this is my sock. So this is another, they have like the striped ones and the solid ones, and then they have these FX kind of ones, which tend to be a little bit more subtler self-striping, I guess. So this is another one of those FX ones. You can see it's kind of a gray, blue, teal, green striping yarn, and then heel and toe and flax. And the pattern that I used for this, well, so the way I constructed this sock is I did it toe up. So I started with the toe, cast on, I think 16 total stitches, so 8 on each needle. Then I increased up to 64 stitches in the toe color. Then I switched to my main color, and I did a knit 6 purl 2 garter stitch rib. So that means that you do knit 6 purl 2 every other row, and then the other rows you just knit. And that comes from the Vanilla Latte sock pattern, which was one of the first socks that I ever made. But it's just, I really like this kind of wider pattern, and the fact that it's a garter stitch rib means that I only have to deal with the ribbing every other row, so that's nice. So basically, I did that, and the great thing about like afterthought heel socks is you basically just knit a tube all the way up to the top, and then you add in the heel later. So you can be, like me, I added a piece of like scrap yarn where I wanted the heel to be, so that way I could tear it out pretty easily, which by the way is the most nerve-wracking thing ever, because you have to pick up all of your stitches on your needles and then tear out your waste yarn. And eventually I'm hoping I can get good enough with this to like do like a tutorial on this, but for now it was very nerve-wracking. Although it did come out, it came out as a wearable sock. I'm glad you can't see the inside because finishing is not my forte. So the inside is just a disaster of woven in ends everywhere, but I'm just gonna kind of leave it. I think I did a good enough job, and we'll see. It fits really well. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is like, so what I did was, because I did it toe up, that meant that I, only had to do Kitchener stitch on the heel, but it means that my heel came out a little goofy shaped. So it's a little pointy and it doesn't quite fit exactly right, but it's okay. Otherwise, it's great. And, I've tried it on with a pair of my shoes that I have here, and I can wear it with my shoes. And it's a nice fit. It doesn't squish my toes or anything. It's the right length. So it's great. And I'm going to I'm going to do another one. So I actually have a pair. And then I'm just going to not be precious with them. I'm going to put them in the washer. I'm going to put them in the dryer, and I'm just going to see how this wears. And the great thing about, doing the afterthought heel is that I can take out the heel by itself anytime I need to replace it or anything like that. I could take out the toe by itself and replace it. So yeah, so that was really exciting. It was very enjoyable because I didn't have to think very hard about it. I'm lucky in that I can wear, these kind of socks that don't have a gusset, and basically, it's similar to a short row heel sock. So I can wear these kinds of socks that don't have a gusset and they fit me just fine. So that makes it really kind of a brainless knit, because after the toe is done, it's just a big tube until I get up to the top, and then the complicated thing is the heel. But I could knit a whole bunch of tubes and do a whole bunch of heels, in a weekend, and then have a whole bunch of socks. So that's kind of nice. One thing I do need to figure out how to deal with, and I guess I can kind of put my hand in here to show you. So kind of at the corners of my heel, I wound up with little holes, which I think is just because when I picked up kind of my last stitch in between the two sides of the heel, it just pulled funny, so then you wind up with little holes. And it doesn't really affect the structural integrity of the sock. And when I wove in my ends, I kind of wove them to kind of, close those holes a little bit. But you know what? It is what it is. If I figure out a foolproof way to get rid of those, I will let you know. But yeah, that's very exciting. My first afterthought heel sock. My first time doing Kitchener stitch properly. I had tried it on my very first sock and that was just a disaster, but I actually found a video that helped me this time, because she goes slow enough that you can do the steps with her. The first, she does, I think 4. She binds off 4 stitches that way. So she kind of does it slowly enough that you can do it with her, and that really helped me to kind of get the pattern of how to do it in my head. So I will link that down below because that's super helpful for me. I definitely recommend watching it once or twice before you actually start trying to do it. But, and even then, if you get lost, just pause it and kind of, catch up and then keep going. But it was super helpful. So I'll make sure to link that down below. And hopefully I'll have more socks to show as time goes on. I'd like to get another one made so I actually have a pair and can wear them, because that would be pretty neat. But yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks if you stuck around through the knitting stuff. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next week. Bye!